Hello everyone, this is Dan Riley for Sports Talk. Last week, a rather interesting bit of charity showed up in the Mile High City when cardboard cutouts of the legendary characters of the show South Park were put in the stands at Mile High Stadium on Sunday. This was the second time this was done this year, and the week got even crazier when GM John Elway came down with COVID. It's that kind of a year, isn't it? Regardless of who wins the Super Bowl, it'll be easier to remember the 2020 NFL season for what went on off the field. Guys having to sit out because of a COVID test that came up positive, teams using stadiums as polling stations, and yes, cardboard cutouts of characters from the raunchiest TV show in history in the stands at Mile High Stadium. All the time we hear guys saying they have to keep focusing on winning games even with outside distractions. Well, for every team in the league, this season will go down in NFL history as the premier example of that. Remember when the Ravens won the Super Bowl 20 years ago? They had to cope with what was basically the first time in league history an active player was arrested and charged with murder. Brian Billick and his team not only had to answer questions about the team's early quarterback problems, they had to avoid flipping on Fox News or CNN and would have had to see Ray Lewis' mugshot splattered across America's collective TV screens. Can you believe that team was able to focus enough to win the whole thing? I can't. The 1993 Oilers are another example. That team somehow made the playoffs in spite of one player committing suicide and internal bickering going public. NFL Films made a documentary on that team a few years back. But no team has ever had to put together a Super Bowl winning season knowing there's a pandemic spreading across the country that's killed 200,000 people nationally and a heck of a lot more globally. We've never seen NFL stadiums without fans with guys saying the silence is deafening to them. This is a whole different ball of wax. The only thing remotely close to this is the social strife of the 1960s. I can only imagine how hard it was playing football having to deal with that. Or the first few weeks the NFL came back after 9/11. I don't know how guys in the league were able to actually focus on football with political assassinations or terrorist attacks. Don't even ask me. The game has a long history of teams tuning out distractions from the outside world. It's likely a lot harder than other sports where you have to play a game every other night. Now, that's not to say guys can always do it, and frankly, we shouldn't expect them to. Sean Taylor's death left a hole in his teammates' hearts that damaged their ability to focus on the field and win a game or two. But the tendency for guys to focus on winning games is undeniable, at least for the most part. For whatever reason, we don't hear guys asking for this season to be stopped for the sake of their health or even a reduction in the quality of play. It's absolutely amazing and makes no logical sense. And in a perverse, almost sick way, it's almost impressive. Many of us right now, far too many of us, are losing our minds, feeling terrified, lonely, and hopeless with this tragedy unfolding. I couldn't blame anybody for being less productive at work right now. Only a fool would. Somehow we don't have guys sitting out or letting germophobia get the best of them in the NFL. The fact these guys are professionals doesn't matter. Football is the last thing on anyone's mind right now, including mine. It's just scary times we live in, and still guys are able to keep playing. It's awe-inspiring, it really is. The NFL has a long history of teams telling their players to leave the outside world once they suit up for practice. And still, I thought this would be one disaster that would make that impossible. I guess I was wrong. I'm amazed we don't have guys worried about getting sick out there when they line up for a crucial third down. And frankly, I am dumbstruck that we don't have this going on. Sometimes in this world, you go on with your life the best way you can. Perhaps the NFL is no different. I'm Dan Riley for Sports Talk on Passionate World Internet Radio. I'll see you all next week with a new episode.